Hello, I'm David. When I was 11 years old, I wanted to play Monkey Island. And not just wanted, I needed to play it. There was something about the quirky humor, the clever puzzles, and the sense of adventure that spoke to me even before I'd ever laid hands on it. The problem? My dad bought me an IBM 5150 with an 8088 processor. Let's just say it wasn't quite ready for Monkey Island out of the box. To put this into perspective, this computer was ancient even by the standards of the time. It was a beast of a machine, big, heavy, and slow. It wasn't meant for gaming. It was built for word processing, spreadsheets, and maybe some very basic programs. Monkey Island? That was a dream way beyond its humble capabilities. But I wasn't about to let that stop me. So I got to work. To get it running, I had to learn the command line commands. I still remember the feeling of typing commands like dir or cd to navigate directories, trying to find my way around this strange digital landscape. Then came hardware upgrades. It wasn't like today, where you just pop in some new RAM or a faster SSD. I had to figure out what components my machine could even support, and most of what I learned came from asking my dad or reading documentation. At the time, it all felt like an uphill battle, but little did I know that curiosity and determination would change the trajectory of my life. What started as a desire to play one game became a crash course in how computers worked. By the time I finally got Monkey Island to run, I had developed an understanding of operating systems, hardware, and even a bit of troubleshooting. I was hooked. That little spark of curiosity turned into a fire, and years later, it led me to pursue a degree in computer science. From there, I built a career that has now spanned more than 2 decades, and all because of one game. That computer was more than a machine to me. It was my first real experience with solving a problem that didn't have a clear solution. In those moments, you learn the value of persistence and creative thinking. You're not just pushing buttons. You're uncovering how things work, peeling back layers of complexity until you get to the heart of the matter. And I think that's the beauty of computers. They're these seemingly opaque black boxes. But if you're willing to explore, they'll reveal their secrets to you. That mindset of exploration, of tinkering and problem solving, is what carried me forward. Fast forward 30-some years, and now I'm seeing history repeat itself, but this time from a different perspective. My daughter has shown an interest in programming, specifically Python. She's asked me questions about code, algorithms, and how apps are made. I couldn't be prouder. But as any parent knows, when your kid shows interest in something, you want to do everything you can to nurture it. So I thought, what better way to support her than to get her a dedicated laptop she can use? But not just any laptop, a ThinkPad. Now, I'll be honest, I don't even like laptops. I've always been a desktop guy through and through. They're more powerful, expandable, and repairable. Desktops are the workhorses of the tech world. But ThinkPads? They're kind of special. They're in a league of their own. For one thing, they're cheap, especially when you go for used or refurbished models. They're easy to upgrade too. Want more RAM? Just pop off the bottom panel. Need a bigger hard drive? No problem. They're perfect for learning because they're durable, simple, and incredibly versatile. Caveat being some are more expandable than others. This T480 doesn't have any soldered-in RAM or such, so I went with it. And it's not too old, being released in 2018. Then there's the cult following. If you've never heard of it, let me explain. ThinkPad users are obsessed with these machines. especially the little red dot in the middle of the keyboard, the track point. At first, I didn't get it. Why not just use a regular trackpad or a mouse? But the more I used it, the more it grew on me. There's a certain charm to it, a kind of tactile precision that's hard to describe. I'm not saying I've joined the cult, but let's just say I understand the appeal now. There's something satisfying about setting up a machine like this, too. It's not just about getting the hardware right. It's about preparing it for its mission. For my daughter's ThinkPad, that meant starting with a fresh install of the operating system, updating the drivers, and optimizing it for her needs. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just another hand-me-down, but something uniquely hers. I spent hours making sure everything was just right, because I know the power of a good starting point. Anyway, here's where it all comes full circle. My daughter now has the refurbished ThinkPad, all set up and ready for Python, programming, and whatever else she wants to explore. I've installed an IDE, loaded up some beginner-friendly tutorials, and even walked her through the basics of writing a Hello World program. She can now experiment with small projects, like creating a random number generator and trying to figure out how to build simple text-based games. Watching her work reminds me so much of my younger self. Curious, determined, and unafraid to dive in and make mistakes. But there was one last thing I had to do. Just for nostalgia's sake, I installed Monkey Island on her laptop, and a few other games. Ultimately, at 11 years old, I got a computer from my dad and eventually upgraded it enough to play Monkey Island. That experience shaped my future in ways I never could have imagined. Now, some 30-plus years later, I'm giving my daughter a refurbished laptop to learn programming on, and installing Monkey Island, just in case. It's funny how life works sometimes. Seeds planted long ago eventually mature into something new, yet familiar. It's a reminder that the smallest moments, like wanting to play a video game, can end up being the foundation for something much bigger. And who knows? Maybe one day my daughter will look back on this laptop and remember it as the starting point of her own adventure. Whether it leads to a career, a passion, or just some great memories, it's a reminder that the tools we give our kids today can shape their futures in ways we can't always predict. Thanks for listening and have a good day.